What I think they're willing to pay for and what they're actually willing to pay for is very different. Working in health as a free service, which is very privileged and amazing, I think I feel cautious of charging really high prices, and that's obviously something I need to work through.
Information is cheap these days.
Yes.
There is so much information that people can Google. They can pull out a summary these days. They've got the AI component to it. So it's really easy and quick for people to find information. And even on ChatGPT, write me a course on introduction to solids or anything along any topic you like, and it will spit something out quickly. Hi, I'm Charlene Oy, dietitian turned business and marketing coach, and you're listening to the Nutrition Business Show. Hey there, welcome back to the Nutrition Business Show. You're tuning in to episode 80. Now, today's episode is a little different. It is a hot seat coaching session, and I know that it's one a lot of you will deeply relate to. Being at the start of the year, I know a lot of you are probably still deciding where to focus your time and how to move forward in your business this year. And so I thought I'll extend the opportunity to my email list subscribers and invite one person to jump on a live coaching session with me and support them to work through a business challenge in real time. So you get to learn from the conversation, and also it gives you an insight into how I support clients, and you get to see how I coach without holding anything back. Now, today's hot seat coachee is Elise Pope. She is an accredited practicing dietitian from Australia and co-founder of Hera Nutrition, which she runs alongside her business partner, Rachel. Like many dietitians and business owners, Elise has no shortage of ideas. Her challenge is not passion, but it's focus. She has been trying to decide on her program idea for a little while. She wants to create something that's not just meaningful for her, but it's one that her clientele would be willing to invest in as well. And so in this session, I coach her through how to narrow her ideas down and to create a program that's aligned with market demand, how to position herself to stand out from the crowded market, and how to launch and release a program in the next 90 days with confidence. So if you're someone who is in a position where you're torn between choosing something that you like doing versus going forward with something that will move the needle in your business, then this episode is going to give you the clarity and the direction that you need. So without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Elise. Hello, Elise. Thank you so much for being brave and jumping on our hot seat coaching session. I'm very excited to have you on today and share with our listeners your journey with your business, and then identify some issues that we can help you to resolve. So first of all, why don't you kick off by introducing yourself and talking about your business?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to chat with you today. My name's Elise. I'm an accredited practicing dietitian. I have a special interest in pregnancy, postpartum and pediatric nutrition. I'm one of the co-founders of Hera Nutrition alongside my best friend Rach, which is really awesome. I'm also a mum to a beautiful 2-year-old little boy, which is lots of fun. Very busy, but lots of fun. Where I'm from, I'm based in Australia, and we mostly work online with our business, so supporting women and families all over the country. I've also recently started seeing clients in person as well in Warners Bay near Newcastle and Port Macquarie up the mid-north coast. So that's keeping me busy. And at the moment, my work really focuses in on infant and child nutrition mostly. And yeah, I just really like helping families build really confident and positive relationships with food, especially in those early years when everything can feel really overwhelming. I'm in that stage right now and I know how it feels. So that's really what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that you have a business partner to do this with. Business can feel a little bit lonely at times. So it's really nice to have a friend that you trust and get along really well with to do business with. Now, Elise, you talked about some of the areas that you serve clients in. So pregnancy, infant feeding, pediatric nutrition. So one of the questions or things that you wanted to chat through on this hot seat coaching session was around trying to pinpoint an area that you want to create your program on. And so let's chat a little bit more about that. But first of all, what led you to working in this area? I'm curious.
Yeah, so ever since finishing uni, I've worked in a rural health setting in my other work outside of my business, and I just kept noticing a big gap between, I guess, what families really needed and what they were given. And I guess especially when it comes to accessing specialised services in the rural community, it's very limited, and I felt like I just wanted to be able to give more. I met so many parents that were just like doing their best and felt really confused and guilty or like stressed about feeding their kids, and I just wanted to give them more support. And like we just didn't have the resources or time to provide that to them. And I think starting Hera Nutrition alongside Rach allowed us to really create something more accessible and supportive for everyone, no matter where you're from, especially being online, not just one-on-one appointments, but just that ongoing support and resources and guidance all in one place, pretty much at whatever stage they're at, from women's health all the way through to feeding their kids. And it also gave me that opportunity to work in a way, I guess, that really aligns with my values and have more flexibility, especially now that I'm a mum. Working around motherhood and family time is really important to me too. So they were probably the biggest motivators and things that got us to decide to start our business.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I think especially working in the area of pediatric nutrition, I was a pediatric dietitian in my past life. It's such a rewarding area, and it's just that, you know, as a parent, you can read so much, but when it comes time to actually real life situation, dealing with introducing solids, picky eating, like it just brings so much overwhelm and confusion. There is so much conflicting information out there. So I love that you're doing this alongside raising a child as well. It just makes it super relevant, and that you get to develop the empathy for what parents are experiencing. Yeah, so let's dive into that a little bit more in terms of how you currently work with clients. So let's focus more in your area of expertise, pediatric nutrition. So how do you currently get clients and how do you work with them?
So most of my clients at the moment come through referrals from other health professionals, so GPs, pediatricians, midwives, things like that. A lot of them also come through Instagram and then word of mouth as well in that realm, including in mothers groups. And then I do some starting solids talks as well that I run each month, and I do get an occasional client from that as well, but it is mostly from referrals from other health professionals. I guess in terms of what I offer at the moment, it's all that one-on-one consultation style that's very traditional health. But I also do those group presentations. We offer some short courses, practical resources. That's sort of where we're at the moment, and we're wanting to grow and build on that. So that one-on-one support is probably our main offer at the moment.
So what led you to wanting to create an online program? What's the biggest motivation behind that?
I think one is time. So one-on-one clients it's amazing, and we love that really individualized support, but it's also unpredictable and time consuming. Overall, we don't know how many are going to come in each month or not. We don't know, I guess time-wise, having a young kids and having a family makes me really time poor. So I don't have a lot of time to give to one-on-one clients, and then my clinic days are now filled with one-on-one clients, and I don't have a time to put into the business. So all the things that require building a business, accounting and social media and growing the business and strategies and goals and working on programs, I feel like because I'm giving my clients my all one-on-one, and like lacking in all those other areas of business which is stopping us from growing. So that's really where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people do experience those issues as they grow their business. You start filling up your calendar, which is amazing. That's great from a revenue standpoint. But then we hit another stage of business where you've got new problems to tackle, and that is running out of time in your day to do other things. And what most people experience is that they are so busy working with clients that they have no time to spend on marketing, and then the new leads drop off, and then they kind of, go into that panic mode again. And so from a sustainability standpoint, it's good to have a stable kind of retention model where your clients come in and they work with you over a certain period of time. And as a practitioner, you get to help a client get to where they want to be in a long period of time as well, so that you get more fulfillment as a practitioner. So that's a great way to look at it. And, the other thing that you talked about in terms of freedom, being able to have more flexibility in your day to work around kids and all of that. So that's all really good reasons. And I love to hear, now that you're thinking about going down this path, what areas of pediatric nutrition do you feel most drawn to helping parents with?
So I guess the two big ones for me at the moment is starting solids. I feel really confident and passionate about that area because a lot of parents find that a really stressful and overwhelming time. There's so much information out there and they don't know what they should be doing and feel like they need a lot of guidance to guide them through what the quote-unquote right thing to do is. Another thing that, well, since coming back from mat leave, most of my clients are actually cow's milk protein allergy babies. So that was interesting to see that grow, and I think the word of mouth from other mums spreading that too and coming in, that just kept going in that direction. And I actually really enjoy how much of a difference I can make to them as well and really support them, because again, that's a really overwhelming experience. You're dealing with food restriction, knowing what to eat, not knowing what's triggering your baby, not knowing when to reintroduce or what the signs and symptoms are or how to advocate for yourself. And I think that's sort of become the main thing that I'm really passionate about with my clients at the moment. It's really that cow's milk protein allergy sphere, which is actually quite a big realm, as I've discovered.
It is huge.
Yes.
it was one of my favorite areas to help parents with as well. Just that fear of what am I doing wrong, and just seeing them go from that overwhelm, confusion to the stage where, we finally figure out what the issue is and introducing solids, making sure that the baby is growing adequately and supporting them through it. It's such a rewarding area. So I love that. So you talk about the two big areas, which is introduction to solids and then cow's milk protein allergy. So quite often being at this crossroad going, I love two topics, but what do I pick? And one of the things that I get our clients to think about is, first of all, demand. So is there enough people wanting help in this area, which you said both of them, you get lots of queries for that. And it comes down to passion. You're really passionate about both areas, but the key determining factor is whether or not it's something people want to pay for. And especially if there's obviously low ticket programs, there's mid ticket group programs, and then there's high ticket premium programs. And if you were to develop something, I would say never start with a low ticket, because you're going to need a huge volume of people in your audience to sell enough courses to make the revenue you want to make. So we generally started with the mid or high ticket. So if we were to go down that path, then my question for you to ponder upon, we can chat through it as well, is what do you think people are willing to pay premium prices for to get the support?
See, I think what I think they're willing to pay for and what they're actually willing to pay for is very different. Working in health as a free service, which is very privileged and amazing, I think I feel cautious of charging really high prices, and that's obviously something I need to work through. But I do find clients are willing to pay around that $2,000 mark for that really valuable information that's going to really help them and give them results, just from discussions in the past, discovery calls, having a chat. We have in the past, I've kind of dropped off this, but we have also had discovery calls where we've offered packages. So you're locked into sort of more like a 3-month package where we give you a certain amount of consults and then support in between, resources as well. And that's, I guess, where that higher price point is coming from in my mind. So yeah, probably what I think and what they think is different.
Yeah, but based on your conversations with clients, what do you feel they are more likely to invest in, whether it's introduction to solids or cow's milk protein allergy? It comes down to how much they're going to see the value in the support they receive versus being able to access something for free through community. There's community dietitians in a rural area as well. And so what's going to distinguish between your service being a private service versus a public service is the level of support that they are going to get and being able to access you when they need help.
Yeah, I think cow's milk protein allergy is definitely that one that people are going to be wanting more support around and willing to invest more time and money into. Starting solids is very saturated in the social media space at the moment, and there's lots of books, lots of information online, and I think with cow's milk protein allergy it's more individualised and personalised and specific to each baby and each mother. So definitely probably more cow's milk protein allergy.
It's great that you're seeing it from that angle. And one thing that I've been talking about is came out at the time of this podcast going out, would have come out in the podcast a week before, but I talk about how information is cheap these days. Yep. There is so much information that people can Google. They can go into Google pulls out a summary these days. They've got the AI component to it. So it's really easy easy and quick for people to find information. And even on ChatGPT, write me a course on introduction to solids or anything along any topic you like, and it will spit something out quickly. So as health professionals, we need to think about how can we use our expertise to help someone get the personalized help that they need. And oftentimes is because, every child, every human is unique. Our health profile is unique. And so what people don't need is more information, but how is this relevant and adaptable to my situation? And having that personalization is going to really help them, and it's something they'll see as valuable. So with the cow's milk protein area, from a clinical standpoint, there could be other triggers for them as well. And that's what makes it fun and exciting. We get to put on our detective hats as dietitians to help them figure it out. So I do think that you have hit the nail on its head in terms of the topic, the demand, and what people are willing to pay for. And so shall we spend the next few minutes talking about cow's milk protein allergy and developing a program, what it's going to look like? Do you want to bring up some ideas that you've got?
Yeah, so I've had a bit of a think about it, but every time I get into it and then I sort of hit a roadblock where I'm like, oh, I don't know if that will work. So I've had a few ideas, I guess, but it would be starting them from start to finish. So from the very early days of suspecting that there's something going on and look what they're looking out for, advocating for what kind of testing they would go and do with their GP or pediatrician to try and investigate things further and narrow it down to if it is cow's milk protein allergy, then looking at that education around what foods have cow's milk in them, what don't, what to avoid, what can you actually have to make sure you're feeling nourished, especially because a lot of these mothers are also breastfeeding, so they need a lot of extra nutrients. So making sure they're also getting the adequate amount of nutrients whilst on a restricted diet is such a big challenge in itself. That could probably be a whole course in itself, whole program in itself. And then the next step then is that reintroduction process, the cow's milk ladder, the dairy ladder, and that reintroduction process as the babies get a little bit older is another area that they need a lot of support around too. So I guess there's sort of that three sections. There's that discovering, what's causing my symptoms, what to look out for, what's normal, what's not, investigating, and then the elimination, reducing symptoms, making sure they're still well nourished, getting all of their nutrients, and then reintroduction and getting variety back and testing, I guess, what's causing symptoms and what's not. So that's sort of the three sort of stages that I've sort of thought about focusing in on. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, so it's great that you have clarity around the three stages of where they are at and what you want to focus on. What I'm hearing, and this is a very common problem, it can happen in a lot of different niches like pregnancy or fertility journey or PCOS, these are big nutrition areas, is that we end up cramming too much into the course and it's at a stage that they're not quite ready for it. So it's good that you've got those three distinct stages. What I would say as a caution is we don't want to make the program too big, because someone who is coming to you, let's say, they may already know they have cow's milk protein allergy, and so they need to learn what to do. They might be at stage 2, right? Or the child's already kind of been diagnosed and the child's a bit older. They might need help with introduction to solids. So what you teach in step 1 or step 2 may not be relevant anymore. And we don't want them to say no, because they might go, oh, I don't need the full program. Can I just book a one-off session with you? So that's potentially what could happen. And for something like that, possible option that you could explore is splitting your program into 3 stages. So that, and of course, each stage would be priced differently. And if they were to come in needing stage 2 and 3, then you have that option for them to buy both together and get the longer support as well. So I think that would be a sensible way in terms of trying to capture people at the right stage and not overselling them something that they don't need. And especially stage 1, when someone is just at the start of the journey, they're still working out what it is, and that investigation process can take a few weeks, and that can drag things out, and they may not be ready to say yes to your full program because we don't know if it's cow's milk protein allergy just yet. So I would definitely suggest having that as a standalone, see that as a starter
Okay.
part to the program. And so when you have discovery calls with clients, once you understand where things are at, you could go, okay, you haven't yet found out what it is, and I've got a course or a program that helps you to work it out, the testing and stuff, and we can go through that. And if you do confirm that as an allergy, then you will need to go through step 2 and step 3. We can, of course, make sure that you are credited, what you've paid for is credited towards the full program. So that will be still a win-win for them and for you.
Yeah, a bit more clarity in my mind, I think, because I was getting a bit stuck on that first stage, because if it's something else that's causing the issue, then you have to refund them potentially for the whole course. Then I guess ethically, Dietitians Australia wise, I don't know. Yeah, for stage 2 and 3, they probably would need a formal diagnosis before starting, I'm guessing, from my clinical knowledge, to make that, safe. So there is that sort of...
Yeah, you don't want to sell people things that they don't need. That's why. And I think from a professional ethics standpoint, you definitely want to have some sort of screening in place, and that's the point of having a discovery call. So I see stage 1 perhaps is more of something that's a little bit more self-led. So that could be a starter course that you create that people can access at any time they need. Because imagine a mum waking up at 2 a.m. seeing blood in their child's diapers, and they are in panic mode and they're quickly searching, what do I do with that? And they probably don't want to wait for a week to have a discovery call with you. And then, that just takes a long time. So we want to try and meet people where they're at and make your services super accessible. So that could be a starter that you sell all the time. And then for the main program, part 2 and 3, that's when you could sell it together as a full program. That could go for 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, however long you think is appropriate. And that would need a screening step, which could involve they fill out a form and tell you where things are at. You get on a discovery call and you're selling them the full program.
Yeah, because I think I was like, I've got these ideas. How do I actually make that work? So that's good, yeah. Good.
Glad to hear you've got clarity.
Yeah.
So from there, which one do you create first then? That's the next question.
I'm thinking that middle stage, stage 2. I already have quite a lot of resources for that stage. So I feel like that's probably where I feel like I could really get momentum starting. And a lot for stage 3 with the dairy ladder, that's again accessible online, in Facebook groups, mothers groups. They're independently doing it really until they run into issues where I think they need that most support in that stage 2.
That sounds good to me. What an online course is designed to do is to capture all the repetitive education that you give to clients. So you can package it into lessons and modules, and it helps to do the heavy lifting in your session so that, when you actually do meet with a client, they already have watched the videos and you're troubleshooting, you're personalizing and supporting them through any challenges that they have. So it sounds like the middle stage is the most time-consuming stage where you're doing a lot of that education. So I do think that it's sensible to start with that, and then the rest of it you can add on as you go, and then you can create that starter one later on as well once you get your bread and butter, your core offering done, and then you can split your time and work on other things.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I think that then starting solids with cow's milk protein allergy is a whole nother realm in itself that blends the two, which is a later thing. But also have been thinking about that too. So lots of thoughts and ideas, but not actually doing them.
And it's important to find focus. And a lot of people, like entrepreneurs, we're not short of ideas. We're very creative. We've got, lots of things that we want to do. But the difference between someone getting results and moving forward and someone who's still stuck in analysis paralysis is that we just can't find a focus. So in itself, a very scary step to say, yep, I'm going to focus my time on this. So from here on, I want to make sure this is actionable for you as well. So if we were to go down the path of creating a program, the second step program, what's that going to look like in your schedule? How are you going to set aside time to work on that? And when do you think you would be aiming to launch this or release it to the public?
Firstly, I really wanted to launch it in March. I felt like that was a time when I would be able to get things done by. Probably only limited, probably 4 hours a week is probably my time frame to really knuckle in and do it around clients and things like that. Do you think that's unrealistic, or with your experience, or?
So we're in mid-January right now. The biggest part, well, to get started, you will need a program outline. You need to know what you want to create, how many lessons, and how it's all going to flow. So that's the first step. And the part that's going to take the most amount of time is creating the slides and recording it. So that will be the stage where it will probably demand more of your time, uninterrupted time, to do this at home without distractions and kids in the background. You know what I mean? They're not a distraction, but it can get noisy when you're trying to record something. So I would say the part about planning and getting the program outline, the lesson plan ready, that shouldn't take you too much time. In fact, I am running a boot camp in early February, that steps you through how to create it. So we teach you a lot of AI, how to integrate that into your work process. You get a lot of prompts to spit out the program outline and have a plan in place to launch it. So that will be something really good for you to consider if you want to speed up the process and get it done. And then from there on, you're creating the slides. So typically, to create and record, I would say you want to look at spending 1 to 2 weeks per module. And each module, you're probably looking at about 5 lessons to 6 lessons maximum. You don't want to make it too big. The trap that most people fall into is that they cram too much information in. So I always say to my clients, I drill this into them. I say, you want to have my voice in the back of your head, give them what they really need to get results. So if you're going, do I need to explain to them the etiology of cow's milk protein allergy and all of that kind of stuff? They probably already have prior knowledge if they're already diagnosed. So it's really about, okay, how do you navigate the day-to-day situation? What do you do if your child's still having symptoms, and just getting it very pointed with the information that you give. So yeah, probably one module every 1 to 2 weeks. So if you're kind of working towards your timeline, you may want to work backwards actually and see if that gives you enough time. You probably, being a high-level program, don't need to have everything recorded before you release it. So typically I say aim to get about 2 to 3 modules done. So that's usually about half of your program. So you're ahead of your clients, and when they come in, they're doing one module maybe every 2 weeks or however long you decide for them, and you just need to stay ahead. So that also pushes you to get the program fully done. I would say usually it may take someone if they're spending about half a day a week to 1 day a week, probably around 3 months to get the full program created. Yeah. So that early stage, like March, could be your founder's launch in a sense. It's a soft launch, it's soft release. So you have about half of it done, and then aiming to get it fully done, say by the end of April or early May. So then you can do a more formal launch once you've created your program, because launching requires planning as well. So you'll be able to shift your attention towards launching it.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I don't have a very good, not time management, but like prospect of how long things are going to take. So that's good to have that, that knowledge. Yeah.
It's always hardest to get the engine started, to get into that mode of creating the content on the slides and stuff. But once you get the first couple of lessons done, things will move quicker. Yeah, and we are not teaching a university degree on infant feeding. So it doesn't have to be too complex and too long. And parents are busy as well. So one of the things that I'll get you to think about as you're creating this course is what your ideal clients' lifestyles are like. They're probably listening to your course as they are driving, or maybe walking the baby, or doing house chores. So we want to keep that information short and sweet, and then probably providing resources that helps to support the implementation that they can print off and put on the fridge, or that they can easily refer to when they go shopping. So just make sure that it's suited towards their lifestyle and how they like to learn. Great. Awesome. So we've talked about a lot today. Does it feel clear to you what your next steps are and the focus areas?
Yeah, definitely. I think I need to get in and start planning the modules, what's going to be involved in each module, and then really get into the creation process of that too, which is motivating. I feel quite motivated, which is good. And I think with my social media, my PEDS page, I've been thinking about doing this for a while and haven't actually done it but making it mostly just cow's milk protein allergy niched to really get that target audience through that Instagram social media as well. Would you suggest that's probably a good idea?
We talk about the prevalence of a condition when we talk about niching, and the demand, I feel, is growing. There's more and more allergies popping out, and weird ones as well, and so I don't think it's going to be too niched. But then you also want to consider the bigger picture, because you're in a partnership practice with Rachel as well. So how does that feed into the bigger picture of your practice? Do you want to be known as the company that serves people right from the stage where they're trying to conceive, or with women's health issues right through to infant feeding and introduction to solids and pediatric nutrition issues? If that's the case, then you want to keep the picture a bit broader on your main Instagram page, because that's where, it represents your whole company. And then both of you mentioned earlier to me, you've got your separate Instagram pages as well. So I'll link that in the show notes if people want to check you out and chat to you. And with that specific page, if you want to keep it very targeted towards cow's milk protein, it's a page where you can then go on to sell your program. I don't think that's a problem, because with Instagram and the algorithm, it wants specific keywords, specific content to feed it to the right people. And my question for you at the end of the day is, what do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known as the guru dietitian in the cow's milk protein space? There's definitely not as many dietitians in this area versus pediatric dietitian in general.
Yeah, as a business, we definitely want to be known as like a hub that really supports women and families from that start to finish of their journey, revolving door, I guess. So that's the overarching goal for us, is that we still definitely want to focus in on that. And I think for me personally, doing things that I actually enjoy rather than just doing things because will help me to stay motivated and reach that goal in the end.
Yeah, and you can always hire additional dietitians to support your clients in the other areas that may not feel like your zone of genius. Not that you can't do it, it's just not your area of passion. And I think as business owners, it's really important for us when we make decisions to think of the long term and the bigger picture as well. If you want your company to be known as the company that serves people from that range in those industries, then you want to keep that going, and then you have your specialized areas. And that's what I often talk about with dietitians who wants to they're at the stage of hiring new dietitians to join the team. Then they can take care of individual areas, and that will make it easier for your audience to go, oh, I'm struggling with this problem, she's the best person to help me, instead of going, there's 3 options and I don't know who to choose. So it would just give your audience more clarity as well. Fantastic. Well, Elise, thank you so much for being so willing and open to share about where you're at in business. I think a lot of the things that you talk about is so relevant for a lot of other dietitians, and I'm sure they can resonate with the challenges that you face as well, especially just taking that first step on deciding. So I'm glad we got to talk it through, and I hope that this has given you a lot of clarity on where you want to go this year in your business. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I think that's everything. Thank you so much for your time and all of your knowledge and guidance. Really do appreciate it. So yeah, feeling very motivated and ready to get going on our program, this program.
I'm so happy to hear.
Thanks.
Thank you. Wonderful. All right. So thank you to our listeners for listening in this week as well. I hope that this has given you an insight into the things to think about as you navigate your business. If you are interested in creating an online program, just as a reminder, we are running the boot camp as well from February the 3rd to the 5th. So make sure you go check it out in the show notes. And for the rest of you, I'll catch you back here for next week's episode. Take care, everyone.